Hey, this time put up a notice in the community section of my page. Let's see if I can get that just a little bit more light. There we go. Whoa, not that much. To talk about this live stream. And now I'm a little bit late because, well, because of things, and I feel bad about that. But I really, I could not help myself. I had to make some comments about these White House briefings and what I'm seeing. And I've got some stuff written down. See if I can do that a little bit. I hate having it directly right at me. Is that a little too weird? Hello, shalom, Michael and Stephen. Hello. What do you think? Is that okay lighting? You can kind of see me. Oh, I'm kicking my camera around. I'm a mess. Look at this. I guess the lighting could be more from my front. The pastor will help me fix it when he gets here. Hey, Suze. Hi, Sister Kate. Thank you for coming on. No problem. Hey, Shield Maiden. Shalom, shalom. Good to see you. I do have a couple of things I want to talk about, but we'll let people come in. We'll say hi to our friends. Hey, Deborah E. Shalom. I made myself some notes here. How many of you watched tonight's briefing? Anybody back there? Woodsy. Patterson Homestead. Shalom from me and Sister Amy. Shalom, shalom. Bless you, Patterson Homestead. Shalom. Thank you for the thumbs up, you guys. We haven't even really gotten started. Felix Hoy. Hello from ES Kansas. God bless all. Thank you, Felix. I guess I can make that a little bit closer so I don't have to keep leaning forward to read the comments. There. Can you guys see me okay? Can you hear me okay? You guys are giving me thumbs up. It's great. Shalom, shalom. Oh, I'm behind already. There, Rusty Smith. Shalom from Texas. Texas is a heck of a state. I need to go back down there. I only saw a small part of it. Southeast Wisconsin, 72 Dodge 340. Wes S. Hola, Sister Kate from Texas. A couple of you Texas folks. And Wisconsin, have you guys had snow lately? Because I watched Sustainable Steward, and she's up in Wisconsin. And man, that weather up there is something else. Central Maine. Woodsy, how do you like Central Maine? I have a kid who's really interested. Shalom, was just watching the latest video from Dr. Wong. What'd you think about it, Bubba X? Kind of sobering. Snow up north by Fond du Lac, not where we are, more towards Milwaukee. See, I mean, it's March, almost April. It's not that unusual. Shalom BK. I love your goose on your avatar. 80% mortality once on the ventilator. Well, he said sort of 50-50 at first, didn't he? Is it me or is there a situation? What situation, Woodsy? What did I just ask you? This is going so fast. Hey, Nina. Shalom, shalom. Mrs. Hermit Hill. I'll be listening while giving baby a bath. Shalom. Patterson, Wisconsin here too. Patterson Homestead, you're in Wisconsin? We just had a dirt storm. Those are my favorite. Today he's saying 70 to 86. Wow. I saw a dirt storm down there while I was there, and it was the weirdest thing. I swear you should just make a post-apocalyptic movie down there, just with, what's around you. Valley Forge. That's PA, right? Pennsylvania? Valley Forge? Oh, wait. See, I told you the lighting guy would help me out. Just don't have it interrogate me. That's all I ask. That looked pretty good right where you had it there. That's way too bright. Way too bright. Right there? Great. That's great. Well, my father's family is in Washington, Missouri. Okay, central Wisconsin. Patterson Homestead and and whoever else said they were in Wisconsin, forgive me that I don't remember all these things. You really should check out Sustainable Steward. She's in Wisconsin too, and she's amazing. She's an amazing homesteader. Just going to visit her would benefit you. All right, so how many of you all watched the White House briefing this evening? Shalom, Sheepdog Patriot. Corncob pipe factory in my youth. Oh man, how cool would that have been? To work in a corncob pipe factory. I worked in a tortilla factory which was attached to a restaurant, and all I did was package tortillas. Steven said I was watching Following Yeshua. Yeah, his videos are really good. Well, check out Sustainable Steward. It rocked. Of course it did. So nobody watched the briefing tonight, because that's kind of what I wanted to get into.
Nobody watched it.
The president at tonight's briefing. Knives and glue, 100-year-old machine. But it made corncob pipes. I'm telling you. Deborah E. saw the briefing. 100-year-old machines are awesome. That's what those apple peel or core ores are. They're based on 100-year-old. Somebody figured out. Yeah, that one's good too. How to apple peel. I watched the one where he called the CNN and MSNBC reporter snarky. I love that part. Not one more inch said I watched it. Yep, said Nina. Heard part of it while I was working from home, says Jesus. So he did something tonight, and oh my gosh, was the Twitter sphere having conniption fits. He had guests, private company CEOs come on and talk about what their companies are doing to help America. And there was the Honeywell person, there was the My Pillow guy. Like, I know nothing about it, but boy, did Twitter sphere have a lot to say about how weird and end of the world it is when the My Pillow guy, who supposedly was a crack addict and then started this company, was now speaking at a White House briefing, and they totally missed what was happening there. My great grandpa's from Owensville. Well, there you go. See, and we've got this walnut cracker that's based on great grandpa's model or something, a mechanical walnut cracker. Amazing machinery. Hey, Sergeant Jane, shalom. So the historical aspect of tonight's briefing was this. Trump is using private companies because he has to, because the U.S. government does not have corporations. It doesn't have factories per se. The U.S. government is, cabinets and what else do you call them, honey?
I'm sorry, what?
Like the federal agencies and bureaus and stuff that do things like print money and keep the peace and so on. They don't have factories. Earl's daughter, shalom. Good to see you. What is so historical about having the CEOs of the companies come up and speak is because the last time that I know of, this may have happened during the Vietnam War. I have not researched that. It may have happened during the Korean War. I have also not researched that. But the last big time that American corporations helped out the federal government in the way that these companies are now helping out the federal government was when Franklin Delano Roosevelt recruited companies in America to start churning out material for World War II. Ford went from making cars to making B-1 bombers, and what were the World War II bombers? B-somethings. The big flying bombers, and you had the guy tucked in the front of it with a machine gun and the guy on the top with a machine gun and all of that. Briggs and Stratton made engines. Mercedes made, well, no, they didn't make them for us. all of our big corporations started building ships and tanks and rifles and explosives and everything else. And our country went from not wanting to be in the war to fully in the war and supporting the Allied forces over there in Europe who were being overwhelmed. I mean, that movie Dunkirk that shows the British army being trapped on the coast of France with the Germans coming right up to that coast. That was a turning point in that war. If those men had not been rescued off that beach by those private ships and whatever ships their navy had left and returned to Britain, Britain would have lost the war right there. France had already caped. Germany had already taken over that, and Poland and Czechoslovakia. And so the fact that Pearl Harbor happened and America gets involved, suddenly we are sending, I can't even remember what some of the numbers were on the factories. I think they were saying like a bomber an hour at some of the Ford plants. They were turning out this material in huge numbers because our private companies can do that. They already have the production line set up, and it doesn't take that much difference to go from making axles for a car to making axles for a Jeep or a tank or whatever. And Remington and Browning and Winchester and all of our companies like that were already making rifles for the civilian populace unless they got a government contract. And so it didn't take much changing for them to suddenly start making rifles and hand grenades and everything else for our United States military. And so that is what B-32, B-17, Jack English, B-17, that's right. The ones with the girls on the side. Only if those guys painted them on there. They got to, put their little personal whatever, Screaming Eagles paint jobs on there. So what Trump is doing right now is equivalent to what FDR did then. That's why he's calling this virus pandemic a war in his briefings. He's not just doing it because it's cute. He's doing it because it's very similar. And the federal government, he said, I enacted I forget what he called it, the civilian product something or other. I mean, it's a legal step he has to take to then say to companies like MyPillow, hey, we want you to start making things to help us. And for people who I didn't get to this point, but the MyPillow company said they're going to switch from making these pillows to trying to turn out 10,000 surgical masks in a week with a goal to go to 50,000 in a week. And yes, some of them had bees on them. Yes, and some of them had crows and all sorts of, hey, Lena, hey, bitty boo. Shalom, Sister Kate. Lynch Schley, I talked about you. In a Twitter comment that I made. I said, my sister who's on the Navajo Res says she is doing fine. And that was the last I'd heard from you, so I'm assuming you're still doing fine. I'm hoping you're still doing fine. The, who was it? The LA Times just came out with a story that said, there's fear on the Navajo reservation, and there's, I forget what they said, 175 people, only 4 hospitals. Lynch, why don't you tell us, how things are doing there? I'd love to hear an update on that. Anyway, it is the power. Got some soundtrack music in the background. Oh, it's because he thought of this song today. You gotta keep them separated. You gotta stay away from the virus. Hang on, let me catch up on my comments. U.S. was launching Liberty ships, one in less than 3 days. Lots of the work was done by women in the height of the war. Wow, I love our country. Yes, we are, Lynch Schley. Thank you for telling me that. Lots of military, but everybody's sticking together and helping deliver food to elders and the disabled. See, my comment to that LA Times Twitter story was, it's inflammatory. Like, I would have thought if you were having a horrible, horrible time, it wouldn't come out in an LA Times story like, wow, there's a big problem. I would have thought it would have come out another way that was like, hey, we need help, and we're contacting FedGov, and we're having them send us ventilators and surgical masks and whatever. Social distancing easy without soap and toilet paper. Wes, right? Hey, sometimes we take baths here on Tuesdays, even though it's not personal hygiene day, which is right before the Shabbat. Pastor, come on. Can you please put your earphones in? From the state of my mind. Okay, we all grow gardens, but those who haven't are getting help from those of us who have. Exactly, Lynch Schley. That's the way I think we, meaning the Shofar Mountain kind of community and related brothers and sisters, are going to support each other this summer also. So, Pastor, can you hear that? Can you please put your headphones on or turn that down? Thank you. I'm growing extra to help the elderly here. Exactly. Because of the community, we're doing much better than those elsewhere. And that's how you're going to want to do it. I think we have community and that way around here. We're not exactly right next to each other, but we're in contact with each other. And so if we need something, we can rely on each other. All right, let's see what Lena, he's blasting his music. Tell him to wear headphones. I didn't, sweetie. So Trump and FDR, very, very similar. Our federal, not federal, they're not federal. Our private companies are stepping up and volunteering to do things. And one of the things he said, which is what my title was about, Ford has said they will turn out 100,000 ventilators in the next 3 months because they have all those Ford factories and they can just switch them over, and they are going to be sending them out from the government down into the hospitals that need them. And that is one of the great things about being in this country, is that when things are in private hands, they can switch over because they decide they want to do it. Just like the My Pillow guy is switching over because he wants to help out. And I think it was, no, it wasn't the Honeywell guy. One of the CEOs talked about God too. Just flat out said, like, our country is in trouble because we've gotten away from God and we need to get back, and so on and so on. And I thought, whoa, you wouldn't have been able to say that in a socialist country. So, I used that Forgotten 500 book at the beginning because it is because we were able to turn the tide of that war that our pilots were able to fly from Italy and go pick up our guys who were stranded in Romania, Lithuania. I've said the country a couple times and been corrected online a couple times, but our flyers who were shot down over there, they were able to be picked up by airplanes from our guys in Italy because we had just overwhelmed, come into Europe, helped win the war in Africa, helped win the war in France, helped win the war in the Pacific. That was kind of my point. Are any of you guys on social media? Have you seen any of the commentary? I delivered 12 dozen eggs to the elders in my community. I talked to them through the window and let them know I had them. They were okay, left the eggs on the front porch. That's awesome. Sugar Creek, Homestead, Tennessee. I wish I was a bit better off financially. I would stay home from work. They announced we were getting hazard pay. Well, that'll help. And what else? The whole $1 trillion package too is I think is gonna help some people who are told you need to be laid off. If you get a payment, that'll help cover you for a couple of weeks. I think that's kind of a smart decision that they made. But now I want to switch kind of, I've talked about that. I'd like to talk a little bit about the video that Bubba X was talking about. The pillow guy was the one who spoke of God. Exactly. It will help as long as I don't get the virus. That is a perfect lead into what I wanted to say next. I posted on the community part of my YouTube channel a video by a Dr. Vuong, and I'm sure I'm not saying that right. I'm sure I'm assuming it's Vietnamese, different spelling, because the word Nguyen is pronounced wing. So I'm sure Vuong is not the way you pronounce his doctor's name, but that's the way you spell it. It's Vuong. And he just did a video, and he uses some pretty rough language near the end of it because he starts getting a little worked up. But he talks about the mechanism of this virus and how it kills people, which is a pretty sobering video. He is a bariatric surgeon, I think he said. I mean, bariatric means people who are grossly overweight. He's a doctorate for them. And he just very factually goes through the mechanisms of how the virus makes you sick. The first thing he says is the way you get the virus is it either enters your nose or your mouth. And then it's down into your nasal pharyngeal airway, which goes past your trachea and down into your bronchial area. And he draws a picture on a whiteboard on ham radio gardening. Excellent. Woodsy said, yes, I've seen the video. There's Viking Preparedness. I just checked the thumbs up button. Works fine, folks. Great. Thank you, Wes. His video is, he talks about it gets in here and then it goes to your lungs, and he holds these two sponges up, and he talks about how they're very similar to lungs because there's little air pockets in your lungs. They're called alveoli. And then this virus attacks the surfactant producing part of the cells in your lungs. And the surfactant is what covers, like protects and keeps moist your lungs and helps them to flex, to exchange oxygen for carbon dioxide. And he said your lungs are huge. I mean, they stretch from the top of your clavicle all the way down to the bottom of your rib cage. And they go in and out. You have muscles, your diaphragm goes up and down, and you have, your rib cage expands in and out when you breathe. And this virus makes your lungs not be able to flex, to exchange that oxygen. And it creates a fluid buildup in the bottom of your lungs, and then the fluid buildup in there attracts bacteria. You get pneumonia. Because your lungs cannot do the oxygen exchange, it starves your organs, your liver, your brain, your kidneys of the necessary oxygen they have to have in order to function correctly, and your whole system crashes, and that's what kills you. And I knew a lot about the virus before watching this video, but I didn't know the step-by-step process that happens. And where would I find our ham radio class? I don't even know. Where do you find ham radio classes? I think you have to go to like a website. FCC, and then they have probably a schedule there that tells you. Check with your local ham radio groups. There you go.
Do you know where she is?
Biddy Boo?
Yeah, I don't want you to say it. Do you know?
Yeah, generally.
Yeah.
Fenugreek, look into it, my husband. It's helping my lungs. Yes, BK, it is really unpleasant. And so his point was, you don't want to get it. Now, that sounds very frightening to all of us. I found it kind of shocking, but 80% of people who get it are fine. They have a mild form and they recover. And so that's really good numbers. That means only 20% ever get a serious side effect. And of them, 10%, and this is according to this doctor, 10% need an ICU. And of the 10%, 3% don't make it. So it's actually a very small percent for whom it's fatal. And it rolls into the people who have diabetes, they have high blood pressure, they're very overweight because that affects how efficiently your lungs work. And so the big point there was stay away from it. Like when you get all these things that are being put out about social distancing and wear a mask, wash your hands, all that stuff. There's a reason for that because nobody knows who is going to be very susceptible to this virus or not. It's affected people from all age groups, and so you can say, I'm a pretty healthy person. I've never smoked. I've lived a pretty healthy life, and yet you don't know if you're going to get the mild form or if you're going to be taken very seriously. And the serious thing happens very quickly. Like you have a week where you're just dealing and you have a fever and a cough, and then it's just a sudden downturn where your lungs stop working, they get tired, you need a ventilator to breathe, etc., etc. And Bubba X was saying that he put out another video today that says 70 to 80% of the people who have to go on a ventilator don't make it. So that's my word to you about this virus. Another doctor did a video today and he said the best way to not get it is don't be hanging around people for long periods of time who have it. Even if you have a family member,
you should define that as 15 to 30 minutes too.
Yeah, 15 to 30 minutes. And if you're around somebody who has it for less time than that, it's not as much of a problem as if you're there a long time. 15 to 30 minutes, he said, is more the time frame of where you could be catching it. And he said, really, what you need to do is wash your hands all the time, because if you get those germs on your hands and then you wash them, you're killing those germs. They're no longer there. And not to touch your face, because if you pick up the germs off of money or a doorknob or something, and then you touch your face, you're introducing them into the nasopharyngeal, the oral pathway that takes it down into the lungs. So as long as you're washing your hands, you're killing that. And he said he carries around just a canister of that hand sanitizer, and whenever he touches anything, he's hand sanitizing, so he's killing it. So I think that's something for us to not to outright panic, be smart, and do those things that these people are saying to do, these doctors are saying to do. And they've also just put out that wearing a mask does cut down on the amount of you're touching your face. It's not so much that the germs are getting caught on the mask. It's that with the mask on, you're not able to then put the germs on your face. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Let's see. So let's see your comments. Let me see what's going on. There's Spaz Mama. Shalom. Rogan Fear, Baofeng are a good starter. I have a Baofeng. Lynch Lace. Nina, when you get some, chew a piece until flavor is gone and swallow the pulp. It tastes like parsley. I'm assuming you're talking about fenugreek. Okay. Hey, there's Westhold Forge. Hey, Westhold Forge, did you look into the Homie? General and Tech license. Rosemary steeped in water will make one breathe easier also. Oh, get some OSHA root. It's curing people over here. Cool. Maline leaf helps lungs too. Yeah, I think the way you do that is you smoke it. Okay, so we've got two conversations going on. I never realized how much I've rubbed my eyes until now. A bit obsessively. Laugh out loud, right? I'm telling you, people touch their faces all day long.
I never touch my face.
Pastor says he never touches it, right? He never touches his face.
Through my beard.
Right? He's never touching his face. Well, with me, it's this. I'm, constantly doing this or rubbing my eye. My hair often is brushing across my face, and I'm touching my face because my hair is doing that. When I'm outside, a lot of times when I'm pulling weeds and stuff flying around, so I've got to wipe my eyes. I mean, it's... So we've got to start to learn to not do that thing. You guys mentioned OSHA root, fenugreek, rosemary, peppermint, spearmint, Any of the mint family is really good for easing congestion. Now, when you're talking about, if you have a mild case, all that stuff's going to help you feel better. But if you take a turn for a worse, it's, I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to smash anybody's organic, natural ideas of treating things. I'm not trying to do that, but I am saying once it goes to fluid in your lungs, it's a pretty serious deal. Okay, one case in our county had to go out today. I wore gloves and used sanitizer and sprayed myself with Lysol before getting in the truck. I'm telling you, I wish I had some spray Lysol. We have lots of hand sanitizer. We grow it here on the res. You grow the OSHA root lynchlade. That's really cool. I've got peppermint. Excuse me. Wow, Grandma used to wear it. So something else I wanted to talk about on Twitter is how much people are just not putting facts out. It is a ridiculous situation with how much snarky, negative, non-factual, rumor mongering, ridiculous stuff is on there. It's just, because we do watch the briefings, I know what the briefings are about. There's a whole slew of people who think CNN is the greatest thing, and that CNN's reporting is great, and it's not. It's drama. There's some woman, I don't even watch her name, Rachel Maddow, who does a show, I think, every night. She was a great journalist and a great liberal, and she got awards for that, but she is not a medical doctor, and all she does is criticize what is being done by our government to help everybody. 128 confirmed cases, but everyone else is using OSHA root. Just dump out the Windex and pour in alcohol or some disinfectant. And Lysol is a disinfectant. There's so much misinformation on Prepper Nurse One's channel. I was shocked at some of the foolishness. Yeah, I've only watched Prepper Nurse One a couple of times, and I just couldn't. He may be a nurse. I don't even know about his medical credentials, but just the drama. People feed on the drama. Even the CNN reporters, they want to try to catch the president and see, people see the president and he's talking about medical things. He's not a doctor. What he's saying is what the doctors who are advising him are saying. That whole chloroquine deal where the couple went ahead and drank the whatever it was, fish tank cleaner or something, and then Twitter's just all about Trump told everybody they should drink this stuff and it killed these two people and so on and so on. None of that is happening in the briefings. People are just flat out lying or repeating a rumor that someone else made up where they have no knowledge of how the whole thing went down, and no medical knowledge. I saw that briefing. Fauci and Trump both said, we have seen or heard from other people that the chloro, and if I'm saying it wrong, you guys correct me, quinine is looking good as a therapeutic, meaning it's helping to ease the symptoms. And I think someone commented on one of my videos tonight, Thor Gustafsson said that they're getting really good results in Poland with that drug. And so they contact the U.S. The U.S. says, okay, we got to look into it. And what they're doing is they're going case by case. They're saying to people who are in the hospital who are sick, would you like to try this thing? And then they're finding out what the results are. Because anecdotal, you'll hear the doctors talk about anecdotal cases. That means one person's case. One person was very sick. They gave them this chloroquine. That person got better. That does not mean everybody's going to get better who uses that. So they're going case by case to see how it's going, and they're getting the people who they're giving it to agree to say, yes, you can use me as a guinea pig. And then tonight, this was one of the things that he announced that I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. They're making 30 million capsules of that chloroquinine because the results are showing it does help the symptoms. And quinine is just the bark of some tree, just like most medicines are. Like aspirin comes from willow bark and so on. And, Lynch Slade's talking about the osha root helping with the loosening and the mullein and everything else. How can anybody come up with 30 million capsules of anything in such a short time? It is an amazing thing that our country and companies are doing to do, like Ford, 100,000 ventilators in 3 months. This is something that has not been done before, as Trump has said, because the need for ventilators in most hospitals was not as big as it's going to be when this thing peaks. Don't know if OSHA root works, but my meme is still here at 92, so I can't rule it out. Her assisted living center is locked down. If anyone can give me tips on getting Dad to stay home. I wish I could.
Break his car.
Break his car. Let the air out of his tires. There's a big difference between treating symptoms and actually curing something. Absolutely. And when you're doing a virus, most of the time what you're doing is treating the symptoms. The virus itself runs its course, and the only way that you can stop it is either to vaccinate beforehand with whatever antibody, and we'll just reach way back into history to John Adams' family, his wife Abigail, and I forget how many children they had, 3 or 4. There was a smallpox epidemic going on the whole east coast of the United States, 74, whatever it was. And so the way they inoculated themselves against smallpox in those days was you cut your arm, you took some juice out of a pox of someone who had it and rubbed it on your arm, and then some people would get a milder case of it, and some people would still get a full-blown case of it. Getting your body to create the antibodies that fights the virus is normally how you cure a virus. Okay. Non-bleachable service, I think. I gotta get ready for bed. I worked hard in my garden today. Stay safe, everyone. God bless. Spaz Mama, thanks for stopping by. I worked really hard in my garden yesterday, and I had to take it easy today. We actually spent the morning picking up our mail, which was the whole, talk about, had the mask, eye things, hand sanitizer, gloves to go into the post office and get our bills so we can pay our bills. Living sweetly journey to Kate. Shalom, can I send you solar lights that will help you light your videos and home at night?
Who is it?
Sweetly journey.
Say thank you. No.
Thank you, but not right now. Don't know. Okay, going back. 15. Isn't bleach the best for sanitizing? Bleach is very good for sanitizing. Soap and water is really good for sanitizing. Hand sanitizer is made from aloe and isopropyl alcohol, which is, just the alcohol you can buy at a regular store. It's 91%. That is a good sterilizer too. So Lysol is a good disinfectant. Ammonia. I remember my mom, I've been through a whole bunch of Clorox wipes. Everything gets wiped down pretty regular. See, Clorox wipes works. It's a quick, easy way to do it. Remember my mom making me play with my cousin when he had chicken pox because she wanted me to get them and get it over with. That was a miserable time. We did the same thing with our kids. We exposed them so that they would get it and get over it. Boo, same here, along with the measles and the mumps. I got the mumps late. I was 16. It was really harsh. I think I was like 4 or 5 when I got the mumps. Seeing what was coming in my work, might have ordered a couple of extra cases. Well, that was really smart. What's unfortunate, I didn't get to see if you were able to find out about the home. Were you able to research it and figure out the mechanics of that guy? What do you guys think about the food situation? Do you think there might be food shortages coming up? Have you seen anyone hinting about it online or read any articles or anything? Disinfectants much dry on surface in most cases to work in many cases. William H. It's true. I think just straight rubbing alcohol takes up to a half an hour for it to do it. Definitely there will be food shortages. Why do you guys think that? I had measles 1 week and mumps the next. I was one sick kid. I've looked at it and it's on my list right now. I'm in axe making mode. Awesome. I wonder why. Yes. For 2 weeks, rice flour and beans have been completely missing in my local markets. There's yummy, has tons all over the world. I have screenshot. We have stored, have gardens, and animals. I go to the store. Wait a minute, be right back. Blessings to say prayers for the lost. Okay. Spoke to the grocery room, was told they're getting bare minimum or less because of shortages. BP Earthwatch has been talking about it. I go to the store if I need food. Shelves are still stocked here in Wisconsin. Good to know. What they get is what we get. Very little. Because of the problems of delivery and weather problems. There were definitely shortages at the stores when Pastor and I went. There was plenty of fresh stuff. There was very little, there was no like shelf-stable milk. There was no chicken. There were shortages. But the reason I think that it's going to continue is from all the things that have been happening around the world. The locust plague thing is still going on in the Middle East. China's got, their virus problems, but they had right before that swine, I can't even remember what they called it. It was a swine flu, the African swine fever or something, where a bunch of their pigs died. And then they also have the, what is it called? The avian flu, where their chickens were also pretty sick and they had to kill a bunch of them. And then if you get workers here who are sick and can't go to but they're essential, right? Food, let's say you own a Tyson chicken farm. You're an essential worker, I would think. I think in our country, people are going to try to continue, especially the fast food stores. They're being told, you stay open with your drive-through thing so people won't come in and sit down, but people can still drive through McDonald's and Burger King and all that. If Wisconsin runs out of cheese, then we know the world has ended. With all the floods, harvests are pitiful, right? I'm listening to Texas Farm Bureau discussing planting numbers and harvest forecast. The info Ice Age farmer isn't wrong, it looks like. According to Tyson, they only had enough chickens to last about 6 months. Okay, so we're kind of in agreement there. Well, I talked to my brother today. He is on the other coast. He is near where my mom lives, and he checks in on her regularly. He's taking care of her. And it just so happens that in his area, which is, kind of a little bit of country, but not really. He's, very much on the East Coast. He was able to purchase 3 acres, a place that used to be a greenhouse business. And I've been there. It's a very nice piece of property. And they are planting things like potatoes and tomatoes, and they have all these really cool exotic plants and everything. But they also had, I think, about 5 chickens, because he likes to eat organic, fresh stuff. He has migraine headaches, and so he has to make sure that, everything he eats is fresh. And he was talking to me today about they had a hawk flying around, and he was at work, and the hawk killed, I think, 2 of his 5 birds. And you guys know this, if you have 5 birds and they're laying eggs for you every day, you're counting on, 3 to 5 eggs every day or 2. to feed you. And if a hawk kills 3 of your 5 birds, suddenly you've only got 2 eggs coming, and it affects your food production. Just that one incident, right? Just something very natural happening. A hawk, I've had a bobcat kill 9 of 11 of my ducks in the past. So people like us, if we've only got a few birds, like this suddenly becomes not just my pet, because I see online, goats of Instagram and people just love, they name their chickens, they put little shirts on their chickens or their geese or whatever. Suddenly your little hobby farm gets way more important, right? This is why I purchased 15 more chicks, and following Yeshua, I think they got like 25 more birds, and I have been reviewing World War II rationing and World War I food shortages. I think rationing is a strong possibility. It's additional measures of governments to control food shortages. Well, exactly. Like you kind of have to. After the first wave of panic shopping and shelves in so many grocery stores, especially in large areas, were emptied out. The Walmart had to cut its hours from 24 hours a day down to like, we're open at 6 in the morning, we're going to close at 10. That gave them those nighttime hours to restock their shelves. If food is going to be a shortage, the FedGov is going to have to control how and where that food goes, or you're going to get parts of the country where people start to starve. But if you're people like a lot of us, and you have your own garden, and you have your own flock, and I have my own goats, and we're waiting right now for one of them to kid. She's round. She's only about 2 feet tall, and she's about 4 foot around. We've been waiting. That's going to be our milk source, because if we wanted to have milk in our area, too bad. There was no milk left. There was no butter left. There were no eggs left. Suddenly these little hobby farms and your garden that you're trying, your back to Eden garden or your spaghetti garden or your, raised bed garden, it becomes a very important thing. Because the way I look at it, we have things that, what's the latest? I think I've got squash from 2016. That's 4 years ago. I still have quart jars of squash that I can. So Pastor and I are not in any food shortage right now, but I am counting on some of the stuff that's growing this upcoming year to can that or dehydrate that or jerk it or whatever, so that I will have it for next year and maybe the year beyond that to get the seeds and to be able to plant again. Our goat just dropped her kid today finally. What one kid? And is this her first? That's really cool. What kind of goat? I need to learn canning. William H., it really is very easy. Your instruction manual for your canner will tell you how to can. And so will the Ball Blue Book or the Reader's Digest Back to Basics book. Lots of books cover canning. Let's see. It's a big loose when you depend on it. We enclosed the outdoor area with a frame and wire mesh. It's working so far. Exactly. And that's what I told him. I told my brother, like, you need to, if you don't have your run fenced in and a lid, a roof, no, a top, some sort of wire over the top, things like hawks and owls can still get in there after you birds. You have to actually protect your home flock because they're going to be really important. That's why I ordered Time to Plant Victory Gardens again. Exactly. Question off subject. Necessity is the mother of invention.
So is laziness.
Laziness is the mother of invention? Mm-hmm. Okay. I ordered 6 birds because they are the kind of birds that are supposed to hatch chicks, because the flock I have right now has not done that yet, and I want to have a sustainable flock as well. 3 Nigerian dwarf goats, but they just turned 1 and too late this year to be ready for winter here in Maine. We'll try to breed in February next year. Now, I have Nigerian dwarfs also, and they are not a dairy goat. They are a meat goat. And meat goats, they can breed. Mine have 2 times in the same year. They've kidded in the spring and then again in the fall. So you can breed them whenever you want to breed them. Like if you introduce a male to the females, they're going to breed pretty immediately. It just depends on excuse me, when you want to have kids. When do you want your babies born? And I think that's what you're saying. Since you're in Maine, you've got to make sure it's not in the dead of winter. Yeah. Nina. Someone else told me Ice Age Farmer had said something about this virus, something about the radio waves out in space affecting the virus and whatever. He does not know what he's talking about medically, and so I'm not super excited about checking him out. Excuse me.
You got the coronavirus?
I do not. What I have is dry throat from talking for such a long
You
time.
want some medicine?
Not that medicine. I'd like a kind of
It
medicine.
clears your throat.
How about that H2O right
Good
there?
for all the nails, just snake bite, spider bite.
Everyone up
The
here
crude-
uses them for dairy. Woodsy, I'm not saying you can't use them for dairy. I use mine for dairy. But if you look up the breed is a meat variety of goat. And that's why you'll get these little tiny... My goats have had triplets more than one time. And they're no bigger than not even as big as
You
our
want Pepsi?
Rhodesian. Are you sure? I
Yes,
guess.
no, you want a
Yeah.
bubbly?
Yeah, bubbly's probably better. I don't want the caffeine right now. They're not as big as my Rhodesian Ridgeback is tall, and yet they get this big around. Well, that's a little teeny meal, right? If you live in Nigeria, maybe you don't want to have some huge Boer goat. You want to have a goat you can butcher and have a meal, and you don't have to worry about leftovers. That's better. No. And tom turkeys can be kind of weird socially. My son's was always like walking up to us and... Exactly, Sister Kate.
I'd hit that thing with a stick.
Alright. Survival Lily is science. She also does gardening with Lily also.
Renee Stump, shalom.
Renee Stump, shalom. Can ducks,
gonna
turkeys,
swear-
and
swear
chickens
you
be
later.
in the same run? Okay, Patterson Homestead. I don't know if anybody else answered your question. Ducks and chickens should not be in the same run because the ducks carry something, and I'm beginning to think it might be staph that can get in the water,
Oh, yeah.
and when the chickens drink it, it makes the chickens sick and they can't lay. So you want to keep your waterfowl separate from your other birds. Just be careful with turkeys if they know they are turkeys. Same with guineas. Shalom, Renee. Yeah, and Forrest taught us that Nigerian dwarfs are a dairy breed.
Looking.
I'm
I
pretty
don't think
sure
so.
they're listed under meat breed, and it doesn't really matter. You use them for what you want to use them for. Like I said, I'm using mine as our dairy thing. Dang, I need to move the ducks in. Biddy boo, yes you do. I've got my ducks separate from my chickens. Also because ducks require so much water, and they make a big old mess. So I really don't recommend you put them together. And then some people have said that turkeys will pick on smaller birds. So I don't know. I think I would have them in separate pens. Mine are all chicks together, huh? Well, when they get a little bigger then, Biddy Boo. Angora pelts are great for
Yeah.
winter wear.
Dairy goats.
Really?
Yeah.
Nigerian dwarf. I'm wrong. I'm
Who
Woodsy.
said that?
Woodsy.
Woodsy got it right.
Woodsy got it right. I had it wrong. Sorry.
Right, tell Woodsy we're promoting. Is it a he or a she?
I don't know.
Tell Woodsy is now promoted to head goat wrangler.
Woodsy, you're now the head goat wrangler. We keep hair on the hide, make jackets from them. Lynch Slay. Yeah, Angora goats would be perfect for that. Makes great rugs, too. All right. Okay, then one more point I wanted to make tonight. Another thing that I saw on Twitter that was quite worrisome. Franklin Graham, whose father was Billy Graham, you know, a very great
Evangelist.
Christian evangelist, you know, long lifetime of evangelizing lots and lots of people. He had posted something on Twitter about Samaritan's Purse. They have a hospital, and I think it's in the New York City area, and they were recruiting Christian doctors, nurses, paramedics, etc., to help in New York City with the virus, because New York City's so hard hit. And then the Twitter sphere was just absolutely on fire about how weird that was and how wrong that was and how dare they recruit Christians to, you know, help in their Christian hospital, and hospitals are supposed to accept anyone as a patient, and just all this. They took this really weird turn about a hospital being a Christian hospital. And I thought, one, freedom of religion, hello, but so many hospitals are based in different, like St. Jude's, that's a Catholic thing. St. John's, that's a Catholic thing. There's Seventh-day Adventist hospitals in Florida, all over the place. There's Menorah Medical Center in Kansas City, that's a Jewish hospital. So why are they suddenly all on fire about this one tweet about Samaritan's Purse wanting Christian doctors, Christian nurses, a Christian staff? That's totally allowable in a private corporation or hospital. And it's kind of scary how Shriver's Children's Hospital, right, and Shriners and all that other stuff. It's kind of scary how this younger generation wants to deny.
Sorry, people telling me I should shave my beard so I can wear a mask. Like we're gonna wear a mask in the middle of Shofar Mountain.
Yeah, we don't have to wear a mask every
Sorry.
day. Yeah.
I just snorkeled at that.
What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the hospitals. Like the Christian hospital can't want to have Christian staff, but all these other hospitals that are Catholic and Jewish and Shriners and everything else can pick their staff. Like they don't want to allow people of faith to be able to exercise that faith. And it's the same right that we're all exercising right now. Our freedom of speech is the same First Amendment right as freedom of religion. So we can voice our opinion right now, but it's not okay for that hospital to choose for itself a staff.
Is William H. the guy that was here?
Maybe.
Ask him.
William H., are you the guy who was here? Did you come here?
That's good enough.
Okay. Living Sweetly journey, exactly. Everything politically correct these days, and I don't really think it's right. Well, and I'd have a lot more respect for people who had a position different from the way I see things if they could base it in fact. But so much of what you see online is, like my husband likes to say in his videos, emoting. I'm just emoting. I'm creating drama. This one person said CNN was, owning the White House briefing tonight, and CNN spanked President Trump. One, that's not true. And two, it's drama. It's emoting. It's like, I can't respect that. I cannot understand a life lived on something based on a lie. It's just, no, ma'am, I've not had the pleasure of meeting passion.
Alright, so it's not that William.
definitely start to see who are the wheat and who are the tares. Absolutely. And when you talk about the tares and who sows the tares, it's the wicked one, right? He's the one who sows the tares. He sneaks in to the wheat field and he throws these people out. And they are people with, how does the Bible say? Like brawlers and idolaters and drunkards and just chaotic people, causing chaos around them. We are in this together. Doesn't matter what your beliefs. Well, we are all human, right? I mean, this is a time when one would think we could all agree, I don't want to get anybody else sick. I don't want to impose on anybody else. I don't want to cause anybody else pain or discomfort or whatever. I would like to help, people in my area if I was given a choice and not tear them down if possible. People cannot seem to live without drama. You know them, drama queens. You do. At least for me, it is really easy to see people who do that. Why can't we all just get along? Right? Rodney King.
Because you won't lay down and put your hands behind your back.
I mean, we're all in this together, and as the briefings have said, it hasn't peaked yet. We notice the wheat is calm and not worried because having the highs covering. Well, and the Most High has been, at least in my experience for the last 7 years, having his shofars, his pastors, and his elders tell people, get prepared. We feel something's coming. Come out of her, my people. Here's examples in the Bible of being prepared. Here's Joseph. Here's 1 Timothy 5:8. He who does not provide for his own household is worse than an infidel. Just, there's just been that move. There's been that push. And for us, it was more a leading. It was like somebody's got the bridle and pulling us in a direction. Get away, get out, get more self-sufficient, get to where I can provide for you. Because the Father provides for us here. I've talked about it in other videos. Every month of the year, we've discovered something else He's provided for us. Wonder how Twitter would erupt if the Red Cross and the Red Crescent both sent out a call for help for medical staff. Well, the Red Crescent would be saying that, but that's not what they're really doing. They're recruiting more terrorists. If the virus gets me, it has to come here to get me, but if it does and God wants me, I am ready. I don't think it's coming anywhere near you, Biddy Boo. You've been hunkered down almost as long as we have, or we've been hunkered down almost as long as you have. Wise man sees the danger and hides himself from it. Hey, C103, shalom. Good night, Sister Kate. Early bed, early rise. Thank you for the chat. Thank you for swinging by. Do what you should do. Stay home. Take care of the weaker and the ones who can't stay home because they're needed to take care of those who can't. That is almost too confusing. So what have you guys got planted? All you folks with gardens, what have you gotten in the ground? Did you start plants yourself? Did you?
For some people, they still have snow on the ground.
I know, in Wisconsin, but you could put Brussels sprouts in the ground. They like snow. For 2 years and had 6 months stored up. So glad I listened to Pastor. I'm glad too, Debbie. Everything is still open here. More cars on the road and people on the beach than normal. Well, take advantage of it, Renee, because it may not last. It's snowing in Maine.
Maine? They're dropping trees in Maine.
All right, we got peas and kale. Seeds in the greenhouse are sprouting. Wait a minute. onions, radishes, carrots, lettuce, and spinach. We have all of that also, sister. Have you heard?
County is giving away 50-pound bags of seed potatoes. Wow.
Wow.
We
Who
get
said
one
that?
of those. Gardner 67.
Traded 5 pounds of powdered sugar for an hour of tilling in my garden. Preppers on West Hill reached out to us and went, well, garden it got extended. Our county's giving away 50-pound bags of seed potatoes. That's awesome. Tomatoes, onions, peppers, carrots. I have seed starters. We just got snow. Nevada.
Renee's like our, I don't know what her title is, but she's like our high-speed admin for Grindstone.
Oh, okay, Renee. I did not know that. Sweet. I planted Brussels sprouts and kale. Me too. Lots spinach. Yep. Lettuce, zucchini. I've not done zucchini.
It's early for zucchini, isn't it?
Yeah, or tomatoes. I've done beets because the way I understand it, it's a little early for tomatoes and stuff. But if you're planting from seed, it probably isn't too early. And I love me some kale. Oh my gosh, I love it on everything. I haven't been able to find seed potatoes.
You do a great job, Renee. Thank you.
You do a great job, Renee. Thank you. And try going to a TSC or a farm co-op. A lot of times they have them. Lettuce, broccoli. We got broccoli. Mustard. We have mustard. Getting ready for tomatoes, peppers, pumpkin, and loofah. I have my spring crops in the ground. Awesome. Well, we've met Renee, haven't we? On that trip, there was a lady there. Planted eggplant, garden green beans, sugar snap beans, zucchini, squash, cucumbers, onions, garlic. And PJ, when or if this thing blows over, you all are welcome here on the res. I may have to take you up on
he or
that.
she?
Lynch Slay is a she.
Where is the res?
Navajo Reservation.
Where?
It's Nevada, right? Isn't the Navajo Reservation in the Nevada area? New Mexico, that kind of thing? Southwesty. I know there's a big difference, but I mean it's.
Maybe it's New Brunswick.
I'm down in Daytona. Yeah, Wheeling moved that way this summer. Oh, not yet. I wish. Okay. All right. We just got the trees and berry bushes in. The garden is just getting greens. We're at the Four Corners. Yeah.
Aren't there a bunch of
It's big.
Like, I don't. The word superstition is a loaded negative kind of word, but isn't there a lot of like spiritual stuff in the Four Corners?
I don't know. I don't know if that farm you were looking at was in that area. That really weird place.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, Skinwalker Ranch.
So. I think that was in
Utah. Yeah. Well, we may take you up on that sometime, Witch Lane. If we do, I will let you know. Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah.
That might be fun.
I think it would be a hoot. I think it would be amazing to come down there and just learn more about the culture and see the landscape and all that stuff. Hi, Sister Kate. Michigan here.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I think we've seen that on a video too. I'd love to see that.
Tell Lynch Slay we're gonna pencil her in for when this thing's over.
Yeah, when this thing's over, we're gonna come see you, Lynch Slay. I think that would be a definite hoot. So is Michigan, Mark? Didn't President Trump say Michigan's starting to get into trouble with the virus? How is your state doing? There's also a paleoglyph of the Ark of the Covenant. Ooh. I've got sort of a paleoglyph of the Ark of the Covenant in one of my little paintings that I sell as magnets. I had to sneak it in there. It's the guys walking around Jericho, and there's guys blowing the shofars, and then there's the guys carrying the ark. Detroit area is terrible. Better here. Poor Detroit. Man. Detroit's the one who had the water issues too, right? Where their water wasn't even drinkable anymore.
Flint.
Oh, that was Flint.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about Detroit, though.
Yeah,
Like
it's
urban
just,
blight and
yeah, it went to nothing.
Democratic mayor or something, and it just
Yeah.
fell apart.
Yeah.
And now they've got the virus down there.
Now they got the coronavirus.
Hoo-ah, PJF, we've got great fishing here. Might like to do a little fishing. Don't get a lot of time. Did a lot of fishing when I was a kid. Kind of like it. More than half of the cases in Michigan are in 2 counties here. Right? I mean, it's kind of like that in our state too, because the big cities is where these cases are, it's so much easier for them to spread.
Pretend you have a bad person watching you.
Right. I said no name. Not at all. Used to be the top automotive manufacturing.
Was told Ford just
back, had to do math.
He's making me a spear.
Nice.
Spearhead.
Right on. I know, Detroit was also a place where there was some music going on.
Isn't that where Ted Nugent was from? Motor City Madman?
But
I'm going to have to put one of his videos up.
I'm thinking wait a minute now. There was other music. There was the Supremes and all that stuff. Wasn't that coming out of the Detroit area too? We were squared away thanks to PJF. Yes, Ted.
You got me in a stranglehold, baby.
Oh, Ted Nugent. Cat scratch fever. Motown. Right? Lynch Slade. That's Motown, right? Wasn't Motown Detroit? Now he just lives north of me. PJF taught me too. Oh, were you teaching people prep stuff, honey?
Most of my adult life.
Well, hello and shalom. Just getting here. Have I missed much? Yes, Susan, you have. It's an hour and 11 minutes in, and I have discussed all my talking points that I had on my piece of paper. There's my notes. You've scrolled through. So you'll have to go back and watch this thing when it turns itself into a video. But I am open to questions, Susan and anyone else. Y'all's my people. Well, thank you, Hey Suze. PJF was the first prepping channel I ever watched. Wow. Shalom family, got to rest. Lots of gardens to help put in this week. Lynch Slay, so glad you got to swing by. Really enjoyed your conversation. You be blessed out there, and just fantastic that you guys are helping support each other. My dad raised me with a preparedness mindset. PJ and Bear have only added to the habit. Yes.
How long have you been on now?
Hour and 11. Started seeds for turnip. I've got turnips in the ground. Corn, pumpkin, squash, beet, cabbage, tomatoes, cauliflower, onions, broccoli. Sounds like you're going to have a heck of a garden living sweetly, Journey. Miss Susan Bryant, did you ask a question? I have a video. Roger Rabbit. I have a video coming out, Susan Bryant, that is something you will like. I will go back on a super busy day getting the ground ready and just now sitting down. Woo, you had a long day. What are you doing to pre?
Woodsy says the internet's sketchy. It is because everybody's on it.
It is, yeah, everyone's on it. We're all stressed out. We're all watching Tiger King on Netflix.
I haven't.
I have no idea what that's
I don't even know what
but
it's
that's
about.
that's all over Twitter too. Even my favorite politician right now, his name is
Do a survey. Do the
Daniel
people think it's any
Crenshaw
good?
of Texas, said he was watching it just because he wanted to be in one with everybody else in the country who's watching it. I think it's going to be crazy, Westhold Forge. What's it about, Westhold Forge? I have no idea what this Tiger King thing is. Sister Kate, I grow, can dehydrate, and freeze dry almost 90% of my greens. I'm telling you what, living sweetly journey. I'm gonna get a jar. I'm gonna be right back.
What are you doing?
I'm getting a jar. I'm gonna be right. We're gonna do a visual aid. I think it's this one. No, that's pasta. Oh, here's one right here.
I was gonna go fill in for you. You can't have dead air time.
Oh, dead air
Good
time.
thing I'd have taken over.
Builds up the suspense. After we came to the truth, we have taught others here on the res. Thanks, PJF. I can't. Why Tigers, why King? That's a note for me. Y'all are all I watch. No TV. Scary, isn't it? Well, Mark, you are truly one of the indoctrinated. Tiger King is crazy. Don't waste your time. Suffice to say, people who wake up one morning decide to buy a tiger are not right in the head. Taters, peas, onions, 3 blueberry bushes, lots to get in the ground. What are y'all doing each day that is fun and not related to the current situation? All right, we'll get to that in a minute. Here is dried greens right here. It says nettle on the bottle. It took me a while to realize you can dehydrate greens, right? It's just like what tea is, and you can throw the nettle into anything you want to make a soup with it. You can use it as a medicinal herb. And after I did that, like the whole dehydrating food world opened up to me, and I love dehydrating things like curly dock and turnip greens and kale leaves. Sometimes I just have olive oil and salt and a dried green, and that's a snack for me. Okay, so what are we doing each day that is fun? For me, taking walks and I won't say playing with, but watching my animals is fun. Riding the 4-wheeler. And sometimes I paint. It's kind of a relaxing thing. One time I tried to steal the tiger. That's a story for another time. I had a pet bear. Wife makes nettle tea to boost her iron. Exercise. I want a zoo, but Rick tells me no. We have mini zoos, Biddy Boo. Just face it. I mean, I have a dog who thinks she is a honey badger. Awesome. A sun bear. For reals. Hi. We've had pet lizards, western fence lizards, and just released it. Been a blast. We have been remodeling the girls' rooms. I think about remodeling here. I think about finishing things here.
We should model before we remodel, don't you think?
We were all set to get the wallboard, and then this virus thing happened, and we just that went out the door. So, what else? Susan, did you end up asking me a question? Passover. If we kill a sheep and can't eat all of it in one day, per the Bible, can we can the rest? Per the Bible, Mrs. Hermit Hill, no.
Burn it up.
The instruction is very clear on Passover. If you cannot finish it all, you must completely burn it.
Which we always do. But we always eat it all because we have a lot of people.
But we burn the bones,
Everything.
and the feet, and everything. And burn it till there's like nothing but ash left. That is the instruction in the Bible. If you want canned
So invite
lamb,
people over to share it with you.
except you got to keep social distancing. If you want a canned lamb, just buy a lamb and can that lamb. The Passover lamb is very, very specific, and you have to burn. Seems my family is eat up with stress from just focusing on the situation. That's why I asked. Thank you for the answer. That wasn't very good, William H. That was not a very good answer for you, though, to give you ideas. Do you have kids in your family, or are you all adults? I think that's the first question, and then I can give you some advice from there. Can you do a video on Passover? It's new to me. You've done a couple, right?
Yeah, Shofar Mountain Channel.
Okay, so the Shofar Mountain channel on YouTube, just Shofar Mountain, has a couple of videos on Passover there. And then Leviticus 23 is the go-to verses in the Bible that talk about the feast days. And Passover is one of them, and it will talk about it in there. So a major point to remember about Passover is the first Passover, the Passover, has already happened. So what we're doing is a remembrance of the first one.
Don't
So,
be teaching.
pardon?
You shouldn't teach.
I'm
Okay.
just giving the general explanation. So you're not going to be able to do every single thing that is discussed in there, but you will be able to do a good deal of it. And so that's kind of where you start. 2 families can share a lamb. That is correct. As many family as needed. Have more friends over. No leftovers. I don't know if they're going to eat the feet, though, Westhold Forge.
We don't ever have any left over though. We usually eat the whole thing.
There was some. Remember when the one guy was asking if they could, like, take it home or something, and you're like, no, we're going to burn it.
Yeah, eat it or burn it.
We're going to cut up the lamb and deliver what we can't finish to those in our area.
Hey, that's good for Westfield Forge's wife.
Wife's office final. Close the doors to the public. Everything is done over the phone. Takes a lot off of my mind. Hey, hallelujah. That's a great thing, Westfield Forge. Still waiting. William H. Is your family kids, or are you all adults? I seem to be a current center of my extended family, so kids from 16 months to adults in 70s. Okay.
Everybody can garden.
Yeah, pastor's answer, everybody garden. No, then what you probably want to do is start games, or card games.
What's that? Pictionary? That's fun.
Pictionary is fun. There's, if you go online, there's a million different games. There's one called Kim's Game, which is where you just set items on a tray and you have people look at the tray and then you like have them look away and you either add a thing to it or take something off of it and then let them look and let them try to figure out what you took away or added. Games like chess and checkers, Go Fish. If you have things like Lincoln Logs, Jenga blocks, do that sort of thing. Have the kids do crafts. There's all kinds of crafts. If you don't know any, then go online. The Girl Scout handbooks are full of really cool little crafts and games that kids, Brownie Scouts are 6 to 8 years old, and then Junior Scouts are like 10 to 13 years old. A whole variety. So just start planning activities. Story time can be done with the 16-month-old all the way up to 70-year-olds. You can have 70-year-olds sharing their stories of what it was like to be a kid. If they talk about things like, what would be something that they'd talk about that kids could do? Like have them make little coloring books about what story the grandpa told. He was grew up in a house that had no electricity and they used to plow the garden with mules. Have the littler kids draw pictures of this thing and make a little book out of it. Homeschooling curriculums and homeschooling websites will have tons of ideas of activities for kids, and have people also
Croquet. I love croquet.
Yeah, croquet is a great game, and you can have everybody play croquet, and it's a hoot. Meal times is a really good time to have everybody get involved. Little kids helping mix things, have somebody setting the table, like your young teens setting the table, flexing their skills. Have have the young men who are young and strong do things like cut up the meat or stir potatoes, something that takes a little bit more grit, and then have everybody sit down together and eat together as a family. And then you can even do it in shifts. You know, you three are going to set the table, you three are going to make this food, and you three are going to clean it up, and then rotate it. I mean, it helps. And also doing something funny. What are some of the things we used to do that were just really silly? If you just lay down on the ground, if the kids lay down on the ground and start laughing, there's something about that where you start laughing and you can't really stop laughing. It's a hoot. I hope some of those ideas have helped. Uno can ruin a friendship. Uno can be a lot of fun, though. And I have a game called Agricola that I just absolutely love. I can play it with kids all the way up to adults. Shalom. Thanks for everything. Prayers for all. Shalom. Thanks. I'm glad you could swing by, Woodsy. I know it's getting kind of late. Don't want to go, but have to. Good night and shalom, family. Stay frosty. All right, we should get going to foot wrestling. There you go. Thumb wrestling. Okay. Pastor's saying we need to go. Thank you guys for swinging by. I appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody. I think we're in this thing for a while yet. They said peak is going to be mid-May. So, you know, think more like fall time before anything really starts to normalize. All right. Bless you guys. Shalom. We do risk. Oh my gosh. They played risk games where it went to like 3 a.m. Shalom. I'm glad you got to swing by, Earl's daughter. I miss you. Hey, Marlo. Susan Bryant, I'm so sorry that it was pretty much over when you got here. Stay safe and healthy, everybody. Shalom. Bye, 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 bye.